Welcome to Calling the Audible. It is episode 2, part 2 of episode 2. I'm your host, Iggy Magnets, on the Thursday show, being posted up on YouTube and Spotify on Fridays, as this is the new CTA format between Mo and I, where Mo does half the divisions one day on one episode, part 1, if you will, and I do the other half of the divisions in part 2 of Calling the Audible, again for week 2. Because the winter season is so massive, we have so many divisions to cover. The best way we find to really bring you as much content as possible and really go in depth in each division is to split it up into two. So that's the new format. We're going to be having 3 guest contributors here on tonight's show. We'll have Jerome Hovington joining us for talking Division 4. We're going to have Lori Willette back, double dipping here on Calling the Audible. She'll be covering Co-Ed 1 and Co-Ed 2, as that is the division she is writing for as the division article writer. And then we'll wrap it up in terms of our guests with Dan Lazzara. Yes, the one and only Dan Lazzara, going to talk a little bit to us about Division 1 and his thoughts on the Division 1 season. Of course, we'll talk 35 plus, as well as Co-Ed 3. I'll go a little monologue solo session here, as our guests weren't available here tonight. But perhaps my dog Leo, as Ali Reza, the producer, met. There he is making an appearance. Maybe he can talk 35 plus with me. He's an old dog, so that's the rundown of the show. A little bit of an introduction for you. So as we jump right into it, we bring you the news and notes as we always do. Again, picture week started in week 2. That continues strong into week 3. So either at the beginning of your game or most likely during halftime, your scorekeeper is going to be the one taking your team pictures. So please be kind to your scorekeepers. Listen to them if they tell you on how to set up half down, half on top, standing up. So picture week continues. Of course, if you want your individual picture taken, if you're brand new to the league, they can absolutely do that for you. If you want one retaken, if you don't particularly like the one you have, not a problem. Just ask your scorekeeper to do that. We can update your individual picture. The uniform rule, that's kicking in now as week 3 comes on Saturday. So what is the uniform rule? In order to get your games played and your stats, you need the same color jersey. You need to be wearing the same color jersey as your teammates, and it needs to have a proper number. So 2 things. And what does a proper number mean? Proper number means that your number cannot be taped or markered on. So a legit pressed on number, either on the front or the back. It can even be on the side, but really it needs a number in order to identify yourselves for scorekeepers, for the referees, and really if you want the most accurate stats. Of course, wearing a number is the basis for all of that. So again, uniform rule kicks in for week 3. Complex protocols. Mo went over these. Just to reiterate, we're going to make sure that the soccer nets are cleared out of the way so that your safety is well ensured as you play your game. So give the scorekeepers a hand to move the soccer nets out of the way. Of course, the no boots policy for Brossard. So as you enter the Brossard field, they've asked us to relay the message to take off your boots, put your cleats on as you're entering the fields, the turf fields at Brossard. And of course, the Laval complexes, Saint Laurent, even Brossard themselves. When you're arriving for the first slate of games, so the 6 o'clock games on the weekends and the 9 o'clock games on the weekdays, this goes to a Bear Dome as well. If there are young kids playing soccer, trust me, their parents do not want your 40-year-old, 50-year-old changing on the sidelines. So please change in the locker rooms that are assigned to you, especially the likes of Stade de Montréal, Saint Laurent, even the Laval main building. Please, if you're in the Dome, please change in the Laval main building. And then last thing here, the flag belts. Exactly. The flag belts are now, there are two different versions. So we have the old white flag belts, which are in limited supply. There's probably only about 20 left out there. Those go for $5. The new flag belts, the green camo, now go for $10. So just to clarify all of that. And that's pretty much it. That's the introduction. That's the information we need to relay to communicate out to all those watching, calling the Audible, as we will be joined shortly, and that's where we're going to start here with Division 4, and Jerome Hovington is going to be joining us. So as soon as I get the Ali Reza nod of approval, we'll have Jerome Hovington joining us here. Right, but as he joins, and again, Jerome Hovington is our Division 4A and 4B article writer. So he's going to be joining us in a few moments here. But before he joins, let's recap here the week that was in Division 4A. We'll start with Division 4A here. So some of the key notes, news and notes from Division 4A. We had big fun. Get the best of Jordan McInnes and the Smitty Bakal gang. They start their season off hot, winning 25-20. You had still CRA. They remain undefeated at 2-0 as they got the best of Justin Weir and Balls Deep. You had another team, Bet Boost Ballers. They now dropped to 0-2 as they went undefeated. Remember, last year they went undefeated as the REIT. 10-0. They are now 0-2, the Bet Boost Ballers are, as they fell to the Greedy Nomads. You had Undisciplined Flaggers. Looks like they're going to struggle this year as they lost in a drubbing, an absolute drubbing, 43-0 to Les Auteurs Extrêmes. So that's something to keep an eye out. Is going to be the quarterback play of Corey Sim Robertson with Undisciplined Flaggers. I think you had the upset, maybe the upset of the week. We're going to get the take of Jerome Hovington here, but maybe you had the upset of the week with Les Bleus Branlants, LBB, taking out the West Island Boys in a 1-point victory. Of course, the West Island Boys coming off it was a Fall Cup, so they were in Tier 3, a Tier 3 championship in the Fall Cup. You had Trap Stars getting revenge over backfield penetrators or backfield penetration, to be more precise. As revenge in what way? In the Fall Cup, these two teams met, and the Trap Stars were completely ravaged by injuries in the entire Fall Cup tournament. One of the games where they lost, I believe it was Cooper Young, was against the four mentioned illegal use of hands. That ended up in a forfeit loss. But Trap Stars now coming into the winter season get a much needed victory over backfield penetration. And then lastly, you had Mofos. They were able to get a win over Les Montagnards. Les Montagnards are now 0-2 themselves. So Bet Boost Ballers and Les Montagnards, two very, very good squads in Division 4A, fall to 0-2. But really, it was the Mofos defense. They had two defensive scores, 2 pick sixes as against Les Montagnards, as Montagnards were without their starting quarterback, Julien Fisset-Cyr. So that just shows you the importance of having your starting quarterback there, and the importance really of having perhaps a secondary option at quarterback, as of course this is a recreational league, so starting quarterbacks are bound to miss a game or two here. Nightingale, please tell me that Jerome Hovington is now on. He is. All right, he is on his way, coming in a minute. As that's the best I could do to kind of recap Division 4A. I'll kind of preview here to the viewers and the audience what we're going to talk about with Jerome. Uh, as much as I just mentioned, Les Montagnards and Bet Boost Ballers, as Leo tries to get his opinion on things. As we mentioned, that those two teams are fall to an 0-2 hole. We're going to get the opinion of Jerome Hovington about the 2-0 teams and which we're going to, categorize those 2-0 teams. So we're going to get his thoughts on the undefeated teams in Division 4A. We're also going to get his opinion on which teams are going to get their first win of the season between Les Montagnards and Bet Boost Ballers. And then as we'll move to the second part with Jerome, we'll also talk Division 4B with him. We're gonna see and talk about two teams that are potentially or let's put it this way, that they have a very good secondary quarterback option to go with. So between Voodoo and Pocket Rockets, these are two teams that suffered losses in week 2. And we're going to get the opinion of Jerome, what he thinks between those two teams. If one of those two teams were to make a quarterback switch, what Jerome thinks about that. Would it be more Voodoo or Pocket Rockets that are more likely to make a quarterback switch? And then finally, we'll end the last topic talking about Dak with the future and get his thoughts on them. They of course played in the spring season in Division D, saw some success there. So we're gonna get his thoughts on where he sees them finishing and kind of categorize them as well. And then, of course, we're gonna do our famous games of the week with Jerome, as we're gonna go through the entire list of Division 4A and 4B games, and we're gonna see Jerome's take on who's basically the winner of all those. So usually we would do this at the end of calling the audible. Because it's a new format, we're gonna do games of the week for each division with each of our contributors. So I believe we do have Jerome Hovington here on the call with us. Nightingale, can you confirm that? All right, he will be joining us in 30 seconds. My God, I cannot stall any longer. But yeah, so basically, Jerome's going to give his thoughts, like I said, on Division 4A and 4B. As I can't wait to hear what he has to say about really a very fascinating Division 4. And I'm curious to get Jerome's thoughts on how the division is split up. Right, there's some really strong teams. I guess you can kind of say that about all divisions. It's normally distributed. You have some really strong teams, some weak teams, and most teams in the middle. I'm going to be curious to see what Jerome has to say about that. But right now, those strong teams, like I mentioned, Bet Boost Ballers and Les Montagnards, two teams that I believe Montagnards are at least notorious for going 8-2, 9-1, being in the top 5 seeds. They're starting off 0-2, and Bet Boost Ballers, like I said, the rate last year went 10-0, and the season before that in the winter, don't forget, they won the Division 5A, I believe it was. So this is a team that both teams, they're not used to losing. So amidst all the adversity, we need to really see, and that's what I'm going to be curious about with Jerome. Who's more battle tested, and who's going to come out swinging in the coming weeks? Because man, both of those teams definitely need some wins. So 30, yes, I believe we have Jerome Hovington on with us. 5 seconds. I kind of see him in the background, but there he is, Jerome Hovington. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Iggy. How you been?
Hey man, I'm doing great. As the audience, viewers, and listeners have been listening to me speak on and on about Division 4, I'm going to be very curious, Jerome, to get your thoughts on the division. But first, a quick introduction. Jerome, how many teams are you playing on this year? Just give you a little background about yourself. And I believe this season, Jerome, is the 1 year anniversary where you started FPF.
It is. So I'm currently playing on three teams. Kiss My Christmas Balls, nice name in Co-ed 2. In Division 3, I'm playing with arch nemesis of Iggy's team, Kiss My In-Laws, Diamond Bougie, and I'm playing in Division 4 with Iggy on Idaho Utah Pimps. So I started back in winter 2023, I think.
Yeah.
Iggy brought me into his Kiss My In-Laws team when I was a 60 rated player, and we just went on to win a championship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was nice. And when the days when we had 60 ratings, now we're both kind of in the 80s, where at least for you, you're accurately rated now, Jerome. All right, Jerome. Let's dive in here. I already gave a preview to the listeners and viewers out there of what we're going to talk about. So the 2-0 teams in Division 4A. Amongst them, so we got Les Otaires Extrêmes, we have Still CRA, Big Fun, and Les Bleus Branlards. We're going to categorize four of these or three of these teams. So I want, first of all, who is a true contender? I want to know who's an early false king. And the third team, I want, who are you most surprised with that's sitting at 2-0?
All right, so the true contender has to be, for me, Les Otaires Extrêmes. I think the first thing that makes me think that is their differential through two games, which is at plus 52, which is a big lead. Also, the quarterback position, obviously, record is usually very dependent on the quarterback play, and Chris Veo is obviously one of the best in the division. They've got also a lot of depth, skill in the squad, and they've got two great defensive players in Umar Touré and Xavier Sauvé, who can or ball hawks who have already 3 picks each through 2 games, which is great for a quarterback. Makes you play with more confidence when you can trust that your defense is going to get some stops.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
pretty much it.
So you have Otaries Extrêmes as your true contender. Who do you have as your false king?
Big Fun. And not that I think that it's a bad team, I just don't think that they're that good. They beat 2 average teams. Yeah. They beat 2 average teams, and the scores weren't that convincing. They won both games by only 1 possession. I don't see a true star at the receiver position on that squad. They have really good depth though, so that's a thing that's going to play in favor of them. But I don't know if they have that player that can bring them to another level. Obviously, they have a very good quarterback in Evan Nollet, but in the past, he's had some troubles with turnovers. He's thrown his fair share of picks in the past, and he gets sacked quite a lot as well.
Yeah, I would one name to keep an eye out if for a superstar status, Rico Tulino. Watch out for him. He's usually the one getting about 300-400 yards in the 10+ touchdown range. So that would be the name I watch out if you're playing Big Fun. And then wrap it up. Who are you most surprised that is 2-0?
It's got to be still CRA, of course. They had a very tough season in Tier 2. And I was with Ryan Carouf at the quarterback position. And now you have Nirosh Suresh, who was their best receiver, now playing in the QB position. And it hasn't gone well at all, which is why I'm surprised that they're 2-0, considering he's thrown 4 picks and only 6 touchdowns. Obviously, they have a good roster, especially defensively. They're able to get a lot of picks. We saw that in our game. They did a good job covering our receivers. They did a good job baiting our QB Brady, but they have a really good roster, and the defense has kind of carried them so far. Suresh is going to have to take another step forward. He's going to have to get more comfortable if they want to have a true shot, but I think there's going to be a regression there, and eventually they're going to get some losses.
Yeah, I can see them, picking up a couple losses, but Nirosh Suresh, it's not his first crack at quarterback, and for most teams, as you play as you get more familiar with the concepts, if he keeps it simple, I think they can be, a 6-4, maybe 7-3 because they're starting 2-0. But definitely not a bad team here. Jerome, we looked at the undefeated teams. Let's take a look now at the winless teams. So you have here Les Montagnards and Bet Boost Ballers, both very good teams in my opinion, both starting at 0-2. So who's of the two is going to get their first win sooner?
Obviously, there's kind of a conflict of interest here since we play Bet Boost Ballers this Saturday, so there's going to be there's a bit of I don't know there, but I think they've got to. If we come out and we play like we did against Still Sierra, they're going to destroy us. Bet Boost Ballers is really talented. The games they've lost were very close. They were in the game. They've got a lot of talent. Obviously, Oriana Poirier, who I played with on Diamond Bougie in Division 3, very talented player. You played with him in Kiss My In-Laws. He clutched up for you in the playoffs. That's a really good player. And then there's other guys as well there. Obviously, Sperria brothers, Matthew Simard, who's a really, really talented player, very athletic. Yeah. So I think they're a team that, despite finishing 0-2, I can still see them as a contender in a way. I don't know if they're going to win this weekend against us, but that win is going to come soon. That's pretty much it for them.
All right, well, we'll switch over to Division 4B now, and in 4B, Jerome, I want to know there. We were talking about this kind of offline, and there are two teams that kind of interest me. It's Voodoo and Pocket Rockets. Now, Voodoo did get a big win in week 1, but it was under Patrick Saint-Amand. And in week 2, with Frank K, the regular quarterback of Voodoo, I can't recall the score exactly, but it was a significant loss. A game that I thought they should have won. So between Voodoo and Pocket Rockets, which are going with Jean-Francois Marquis instead of P.O. P.O. at the quarterback position, I wonder which team is more likely to make a quarterback switch, because both of their backup quarterbacks are very effective and have led them to wins in the past. So what are your thoughts on
that? For Voodoo, I think that Patrick Saint-Amand is a better option at the quarterback than Frank K, but Frank K is the GM. He's a long time quarterback of this team.
Right.
And he's not a bad QB at all. It was an off game that he had against a very good penetrators defense. I wouldn't press the panic button yet, but he's got to get the new guys more involved. Jimmy Como had 5 touchdowns in his first career game, and he only saw 1 target in the second game. So it's maybe more about using the new players more effectively, getting them involved and see what they can do, let them prove themselves. But I wouldn't hit the panic button just yet. For Pocket Rockets, it's kind of a confusing move since Marquis is probably their best receiver.
Yeah.
And I don't know how he's not that experienced, that great at quarterback yet. So it's kind of like, PO should be throwing just simply by the fact that you need Marquis at receiver. So I think that's a change that's going to happen fairly quickly, actually.
Okay, well, we'll see. They kind of told me they by design made Marquis the quarterback. So let's see how long that experiment lasts. And then to wrap up the last topic here for Division 4B, I want to take a look and know your thoughts about Dak with the future. Where are they going to end up in terms of seeding in your eyes, Jerome? Because that's a team in Division D that did fairly well. I believe went 2, maybe 3 rounds deep in the playoffs in Division D. A team with definitely a lot of athleticism and gaining experience year after year. So where do you think they end up? And give me a status for them. Are they going to be a legit contender? Are they going to be a dark horse? Are they going to be a false king? What type of team are they going to be at the end of the season?
I'd say that they're probably going to finish top 7, maybe 6 or 7, because the roster is not as good as as it was. You still got Jérémy Laplante, who's a really good receiver. Obviously, Justin Gauthier, you know him, you play with him. Very good quarterback, very sound, great arm. There's also I don't know if he's new, but Maxime Charkaoui had a really good game in week 1. Yeah, he's a new player. That's an interesting player to follow. I don't think they're contenders just yet. There are teams that I think are better. Les Renards Vifs, for example, a team led by a very good quarterback. I'd say they're more of a pretender at this point. They've got some talent, but it's just gonna be a question of whether they're able to put it all together. And I don't know how much I trust the depth on this squad. I think it's very top heavy, and somebody else is gonna need to step up beside Charkaoui and
right. So I agree with you there. Look for depth coming in the form of Louis Félix Roy-Lachapelle. Obviously give it to the person with 4 names in their name. But that's where they land right now in your eyes, Jerome. But how about at the end of the season? So they might be a pretender right now, but are they going to maybe be a dark horse then, in your opinion? Is it a team that in the 6, 7 seed, like you think they're going to be? Is it a team that's perhaps in the 2 or 3 seed that might not want to face them?
Obviously, because they're very athletic. That's a thing you're gonna notice right away against Back to the Future. They're able to make a lot of plays on the ball defensively, and in any given game, if things fall out in the right order, then they can beat anyone. And with Justin Gauthier at QB, he's able to pop off for a perfect game almost. So obviously that's a team that I think will have some consistency issues throughout the season, but can definitely make some noise in the playoff.
All right, and then Jerome, we're going to wrap up Division 4 with games of the week. We're doing them at the end of our contributor segment and not at the end of the show, because that's what just makes sense with this format. So we're going to go ahead and get your game picks of the week. We're going to start in Division 4A. So you know how this drill goes. We got Undisciplined Flaggers versus Still CRA.
Still CRA.
Boost Ballers against Idaho Utapimps.
Can't pick it.
All right, can't pick it. Big Fun versus Balls Deep.
Give me Big Fun.
All right, we got Nomads versus Smitty Bakalgan.
Give me Nomads.
Okay. You got Born in the 80s, our boy David Andrade, against Mofos.
My boy Timoko Sanogo. I'm going to go Born in the 80s. Big game for Sanders.
Oh, I like that call. Les Otaries Extrêmes against Step Brothers.
Otaries Extrêmes.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Backfield Penetration against Les Montagnards.
Going to be close, but I'm going to go with Backfield Penetration.
All right, and then the last game in Division 4A, Trap Stars against LBB.
Give me LBB.
Really? Okay. Trap Stars just coming off a big win in week 2. In 4B, Jerome, we got Monkeys versus the Penetrators.
Penetrators.
Got Les Renards Vifs against Team Sexy.
Great game. Give me Renards Vifs.
And then you have the Renards Vifs playing a doubleheader on the Sunday, playing against Scrum Diddlyumptious.
Renards Vifs, just because I don't want to say the other name.
All right. You got Voodoo with maybe Patrick Saint-Amand against Pocket Rockets. Funny enough.
Interesting. Give me Voodoo. Frankie's going to turn it around.
Okay. Scrum Diddlyumptious against Mengoose.
Give me Mengoose. Félix Antoine Lavigne.
All right.
Going to pop off.
And okay. And 2 more games. Killer Rays versus 4th and Schlong.
Killer Rays.
Will Tyler Gerber get another 15 targets? And then Ball Don't Lie against the Wolfpack.
Ball Don't Lie.
All right, Jerome. Again, thank you very much for joining us here on Calling the Audible. Thanks for covering the division. When can we expect your Division 4 article?
Tomorrow.
All right,
almost
tomorrow
done.
Be almost done. Tomorrow means Friday, so same day as the podcast release. You heard it here. You can go ahead and read Jerome's article and catch up for week 3 in Division 4. Jerome, thanks again.
Thank you, Iggy.
All right, good night. Okay, so we fade out Jerome here, and we move along with to the co-ed divisions. So again, we're gonna have Lottie Willette, who is standing by with us going to be talking co-ed 1 and co-ed 2 with us, as she is the division article writer for both co-ed 1 and co-ed 2. Co-ed 3, our division article writer is Zachary Alberts-Gill, who will not be joining us, but here we are. Lottie Willette, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining right here on Calling the Audible, episode 2, part 2.
Hi, Iggy. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. Thanks for joining the show. Are you ready to talk some co-ed 1 and co-ed 2?
Always.
Excellent. So Lori, week 2 got ended with Party Mix playing against who did they play? No, they played Easy Fun in the first week. Let's just bring that up here as it was a Wednesday game in Laval. I don't believe we have the video for it, but Party Mix was playing against Le Petit Fuck. So Petit Fuck getting their season started with a loss. Party Mix go to 2-0. So are you surprised by Party Mix's undefeated start to the season?
Yes and no, because I don't know them that well, but they've been playing in the league for quite a while, but they haven't been there for the past seasons. But no, they have great athletes. They have Anne-Frédéric Tardif, and they have AJ Gomes that they recently added, I think, and François Deslauriers is throwing. So I think they're a solid team, honestly. So no, I'm not surprised. I think they can come up with more wins also during the season.
So you're not surprised. Now, are you more surprised though that they're 2-0, or that Easy Fun, their week 1 opponent, is actually undefeated and fall to an 0-2 hole? They're actually the last in the division right now.
I am very surprised by Easy Fun's losses. I was not expecting it. I think they're an amazing team. They've been in co-ed 1 for a while, and they've been playing together for a while also, as much as the girls and the guys. So yes, I'm very surprised by their losses. I was not expecting it at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for them to start 0-2, but
Yes.
their week 1, I get it. You know, week 1, it's the
New
rust coming off
season,
the
yeah.
holidays. Exactly. And you're playing a good team in Party Mix, which again, like you mentioned, brought AJ Gomes. And then week 2, they had a chance to win that game against Plenty of Fish. It was a great battle at Brossard on Saturday. I believe they had the ball with 5 plays remaining and just couldn't punch it in. Now, another key thing in that game, as we have another guest here on the show, a key thing in that game, they were only 5 players because of the new maximum of 3 men on the field. They didn't have 3 females to start the game, so they were actually playing with just 5 players. So perhaps if they were fully loaded and fully squad, they may have come out with the victory, although it wasn't to be.
I do agree with you.
Yeah. So, Lori, we just talked a little bit about Le Petit Fuck as they started their season. In that game against Party Mix, there was an interesting stat line. So we'll just bring it up here for Le Petit Fuck, and there were 2 things that stood out to me, and it was that Dom Lefort had and notorious for running. He's very known that if he's able to run, he's going to definitely do it. He had 109 rushing yards on just 6 attempts with 1 rushing touchdown. Now, as we see though on the stat sheet, the Petit Fuck offensive receivers, there were 10 different players that caught a ball. So what's more surprising to you, the 10 different receivers or the 100 yards rushing on 6 attempts? And what's more likely to be sustainable for this team to pick up wins?
I'm more surprised by the 10 receivers getting the ball, because we know Dom Lafall, he's been playing a while, and he knows how to run. He can run fast. He can get open and everything. So
He's
I'm not
shifty,
surprised
yeah.
by his rushing. Yeah, he runs a lot. So I'm more surprised by the 10 receivers because that means that the receivers are able to get open, or Dom Lafar is able to throw them the ball where it needs to be. So I think, yeah, 10 receivers is a lot. So he's able to distribute the ball pretty much to all of his receivers.
Yeah, exactly. And that I always find is the toughest thing for a defense is when you don't know where that ball is going.
Yeah.
When there are eight or six different receivers on the field, and any of them can be the target of that pass. It makes it so difficult that your defense never knows where the ball is going, and you have to be just as deep defensively as the offense is with their receivers. So I always find that's a very difficult thing. So do you think it's more sustainable to win like that, throwing the ball to 10 different receivers, or with Dom Lafont rushing the ball for 100 yards?
I mean, it's pretty hard to choose because for both sides of the question, if he's able to throw to a lot of his different receivers, the defense is always going to have to like look out for the offense because they're never going to know what's going to happen. They're never going to know like exactly who he's going to throw to. And on the other side, Dom Lafont can run, so adjusting to that also, he's very fast, very hard to catch maybe and get the flags. So I think I'd go for both. Both could be
Oh,
sustainable for
come
the rest
on. You
of the
gotta
year.
give me one. Give me
Okay,
one.
I'll go the 10 receivers. Yeah.
So that's our co-ed 1 talk. We're going to move along over to co-ed 2, Lottie, as we had the battle of the balls deep. We had balls deep against Bal Profond. Of course, Bal Profond have been balls deep for a few seasons now. But we had a balls deep in co-ed 3, co-ed 2 last fall cup. So there was a registration battle for the team name. But Balls Deep, the co-ed 2 team, was the one that came out victorious, and with by quite a large margin. How do you analyze that Balls Deep victory, and how do you analyze the Bal Profond loss?
I'm not I wouldn't say I'm surprised or anything, but like a 43 win over 25 is huge. I know Benjamin Carly, and he's good at throwing the ball where it needs to be. Like his receivers get open and they're also able to catch. So and the female receivers are amazing also. So the fact that they won by 43-25 is really good. Their offense did really well, and I'm guessing by the defense, they also did good with 2 interceptions. So that's really good on their part. And the losses, well, the loss from Bal Profond, Sébastien Noël, he's been a quarterback for a while also.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a bit surprised that, I don't know, maybe it's a new team, would you say?
Bal Profond? No,
Yeah.
they've been playing together, but Seb Noel as the quarterback, this is the first full season he's going to be throwing with them. So maybe he's
Okay.
just developing the chemistry just now. But he has a lot of weapons on that team, starting with Francois
Exactly.
Rochelot, right?
Yeah.
That's a big weapon. You have
Yeah.
Laurie Saint-Onge, you have Yves Charbonneau. They're especially their female players. Don't underestimate them.
Yeah.
What stands out to me, the Balls Deep scoring 7 touchdowns on just 12 completions. So that tells me the Bal Profond defense were giving up the long bombs
Yeah.
in a lot in strides, right? Whether it was Thomas Langlois, 1 reception, 39 yards, 3 receptions for Stephen Fioriti, 55 yards, 2 touchdowns, right? So
Yeah.
they were giving up the big plays. But I'm not too sure if that's sustainable. If you take that away from Balls Deep, are they going to be scoring 43 week in, week out?
I don't think so. No. I'm pretty well to go back to Bal Profond, like it's only their second game, so just like a thought like that. It's their second game, so they're still getting used to each other, I'm guessing. So we'll see as the season develops. I'm sure they're gonna get even better and better, and like the chemistry is gonna come. So I'm not worried about Bal Profond.
Okay. And then, Laurie, to wrap up co-ed 2,
Yes.
your team pass whooping. I believe you're one of 2 teams that hasn't played a game yet this
Yeah.
winter season. So I'm sure your team, you included, are probably very anxious to get on the field and see how your team stacks against the
Yes.
21 other co-ed 2 teams. So when you look at your schedule, Lori,
Yeah.
give me a team that you can't wait to face. So you're really excited to face this team. Maybe it's an ex team of yours. Maybe you've played with some of the players on the other teams. So give me a team you can't wait to face. You're excited. And then another team that you think is going to be a tough but very good challenge for your team.
Uh, I'm really well. I would have really loved to play against Kiss My Christmas Balls, but
Uh-huh.
unfortunately, I'm not playing against them during the regular season. So I would say Team Meow Meow because I've been recently talking to Maxime Giroux and he told me about
Okay.
like his team, like how
Yeah.
he built it and everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm really excited to what they're gonna bring to the table, to the field. And one team that could be a challenge for
Yeah.
pass whooping, I think
Yeah.
Tigres.
Okay.
Nestor is a really fast player. He runs a lot and everything. So I think he has the speed
Do
to
some
get some
damage.
touchdown. Yeah, do some damage. So that's a challenge for us, but we'll see what happens. We never know.
Yeah, they're actually the other team that hasn't played a game yet. If I saw the standings correctly,
Yeah.
so definitely very excited to see how your team and Tigres stack up in co-ed 2.
Yes.
Lori, just like you heard with Jerome, we're going to be doing games of the week with you.
Yes.
Of course, my dog wants to get involved here with games of the week. We're going to start with co-ed 1
Yes.
the games for week 3 in co-ed 1.
Yeah.
We got the IG team starting their season against Party Mix.
I think IG team has it.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And only 2 games on the schedule here. We got Easy Fun. Are they going to go 0-3 against Zero Sub?
I actually think if they have their full roster, easy fun. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'll be interested to see what the lineup Zero Sub puts out there
Yeah,
because it's a very interesting team for sure.
it is.
In co-ed 2, you have
Yes.
Tigres that we talked about against
Yeah.
Y and Y.
Tigres.
Right, Team Meow Meow against Team Rocket.
Meow meow.
Got Balls
Interesting.
Deep against Pass Whoopin'.
I can't choose.
Can't pick it. All right, I'll give you a pass. We got Flash versus Lords of the Field.
Lords of the Field. They have a pretty solid roster.
We got You and I against Fit Squad.
You and I.
Okay. You
Yeah.
got Ball Hard University against McNuggies.
That's the difficult one. I'll go ball hard.
And then Bal Profond against Pig Six.
Big six. They've been doing well up to now.
Yeah, they're one of the teams that's still undefeated at 2-0, sitting
Exactly.
atop of co-ed 2. So you think Lori, that they're going to go 3-0 and
Yeah.
remain as the number 1 seed. Lori Willette, thank you very much for joining the show. Thanks for talking co-ed 1, co-ed 2. And then before you sign off, when can we expect your co-ed 1 and 2 article for the week?
Tomorrow night, Friday night.
Tomorrow night is Friday night, so it's going to be a Friday content, full of content.
Yeah.
Yeah, full of content. You'll have the podcast coming out. You'll have Jerome's article for Division 4, and you'll have Lori Willette's article for co-ed
Yes.
1 and co-ed 2. Lori, thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
All right. Of course, there is one more co-ed division, co-ed 3. Unfortunately, Zachary Alberts-Gill had his commitments for the night. He did appear on Mo's part 1 of Calling the Audible, covering Division 5. So we're going to go a little solo mission here, a little monologue, you and me with the viewer, talking co-ed 3. So there were a few things that went around my mind when I was thinking about co-ed 3, and one of those things was about half and half. This is a team that went to the co-ed 3 finals in the winter division. Now, in the co-ed 3 finals, or just in winter division last year in general, they were led by quarterback Chris Vero. who's now, considerably much better quarterback than he was back then, and he was already good then. But now he's throwing in the likes of Co-Ed 1, Division 4, Division 3. So he's really risen the ranks of the FPF quarterback echelon. So all to say that half and half no longer has Chris Vero throwing the ball. They no longer have Gab Wiseman playing on the team. So, and Nightingale, just if we can get, one of the things before we continue with Co-Ed 3, Dan Lazara just is looking for our link to the show. So as I continue the talk here for Co-Ed 3 and half, it's a team that I'm interested in because, again, they lost some key pieces to what made them successful in Co-Ed 3, but there are still some roster pieces that stay the same. And so they sit at 0-2. They are winless on the season, and I'm just curious about this team. They lost 24-6 to Michael Scott's Tots, who again they themselves have a quarterback that in transition with Kenny Boutselier. Of course, his and year-to-year transition and rising the ranks of FPF quarterbacks has also been impressive. So it appears that they have a leg up on a team like half and half who are alternating between, and this they kind of did this last winter. They're alternating between Camille Saint-Marie, who has thrown 1 touchdown and 5 interceptions, and Malachi Roach, who's also only scored the 1 touchdown in the 1 game he threw with 2 interceptions. So the quarterbacks have combined for only 2 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, 7 turnovers. Look, when you're turning over the ball, that obviously means no points, and you're usually giving up prime field position to your opponents. So the defense has extra stress when that's the case. And it really hasn't led to anything pretty. 13 points, 4 in 2 games, and 43 points against. So, look, the defense with 43 points, that means you're averaging 21, 22 and a half points against. It's acceptable if your offense can put up 30 points a game, 5 touchdowns or so. And that hasn't been the case. So, if you quickly look at that half and half schedule, it's going to be tough for them to pull out too many wins. If we just look at their next 3 games, you have half and half against Eclipse. Eclipse, a new team with Dov Vass at quarterback, and a new team with kind of free agent parts here and there. Maybe that's a win that they can get, is a win over Eclipse. You have Agdidou led by Julien Prou at quarterback. That's usually, he's very experienced just in general in flag. And of course, him coaching. And by the way, congratulations to Julien Prou being named an assistant coach, I believe, with U14 women's team. So congratulations to you, Julien Prou. Usually he has his teams very well prepared. So that, to me, is going to be a difficult game for half and half. And then against Bandit, that's we talked about Dak to the future in Division 4B. That's much of the same roster and same composition of a Huntsic players. So their football experience is gonna be on full display on that one. So if you had to give me a record after their next 3 games, I think they go 1-2. So 1-4 at the mid-season point of the season is going to be difficult for them to really carve out a playoff spot. It's a team that, like I said, went to the final in Co-Ed 3 last winter. I think they're going to be struggling for a playoff spot. So that's definitely a changing of the tides for half and half. And then the last thing that went through my mind for Co-Ed 3, I was going through the games and I saw At Least We Tried against Thunder Villains. And I saw a 1-point game. And I definitely had to check out this box score because, of course, as we know, Drink Team against Thunder Buddies that was the spring 2023 final, a game which actually was forfeited, as Terry would like to have me remind everyone, was forfeited by Drink Team for a roster having an illegal roster. So that put aside, definitely Thunder Villains this time around wanted their revenge and actually beating them on the football field. This game came down to the wire. Terry Babelis and the Thunder Villains were down 8 with 1 play remaining. Terry Babylon, of course, hits the touchdown to make it a 2-point game. Of course, they have to go for 2 to tie it, and they hit that. Jeremy Thompson O'Reilly, I'm not sure if he ran it in, caught the 2-point convert, but he had a 100 plus receiving yard day. He was huge for Thunder Villains. So that game actually ended in regulation with a tie. But of course, with our new overtime rule, both teams have an attempt and a shot to go for a extra point convert shootout round. And Thunder Buddies, being the home team, actually decided to go first, go for 1, and convert the 1-point convert. So what did that mean? And of course, I'm looking at the wrong team here. But that means that at least we tried. We're forced to go for the win, forced to go for 2 points. And lo and behold, it's not a team that you'd think that Daryl Dorsley has a large and extensive playbook for his 2-point converts. But it was ultimately Antoine Gaudet getting the 2-point convert to win them the game. So that one, that's a budding rivalry, I think, that definitely, whether you're playing in Co-Ed 3 or you're covering Co-Ed 3, Zachary Alberts-Gill, that this is one that you're definitely going to want to watch out. Because if these two teams face off in the playoffs once again, my God, is it going to be a battle that both teams are going to want to win? These two teams, very evenly matched. The roster compositions are very solid, top to bottom, guy to girl. Really, two teams that, could we see these two teams in the finals once again? That's going to be definitely a question that we're going to be asking ourselves come April and even really late April. So definitely something to watch out for in the Co-Ed 3 world. All right, we are going to move on to Division 1. And for Division 1, we're going to have Dan Lazara join us on the show. Dan, of course, not playing in Division 1 because of he sustained an injury, I believe torn bicep it was, in the Fall Cup, playing with illegal use of hands. So his torn bicep has him in recovery. Hopefully he comes back strong. We'll see how he's doing in his recovery process. But since he's not playing, we're going to have Dan Lazara on talking Division 1, getting his thoughts on the division. Really interesting, very interested in hearing what Dan Lazara has to say. But before we get to Dan, let's recap week number 2 in Division 1 here quickly, as we had, some would say, a surprising win for the Jamesons over Flagmoil-Sac. We'll ask Dan Lazara if it truly is surprising, as Flagmoil-Sac were without their starting quarterback. Again, whenever you're without your starting quarterback, very difficult to win an FPF game. Even more so, I'd say, in Division 1. So we'll get Dan's thoughts on whether that was a surprising win by Jeff Rosenblatt and the Jamesons. You have FFN falling to 0-2. They're now at the bottom of Division 1 with a loss to Party Crashers. So are they in trouble already without not the only team without a win? Of course, you have Royal Lumina at 0-1, All Stars and ATH Squad all sitting without a victory after one game. But FFN, the only team to have played 2 games and not register a win just yet. And then you have KGP starting their season with a big W over Jeans Lee and ATH squad. So all things we're going to get perspective on from Dan Lazzara, who is joining us now. We're going to get him on the motion picture here very soon as the Nightingale brings in Dan Lazzara. Dan, welcome to the show.
And I am so excited to be here and talk about some FPF football with you, Iggy.
There you go. Dan, before we brought you on, I did mention to the audience, the listeners, the viewers, that your torn bicep is keeping you out of Division One and keeping you from playing on the football field. How is the progress on your torn bicep going?
So we're currently recovering still. We're in the middle of the rehab sessions. It's going well, but unfortunately for the winter season, I'll be out. Hopefully, come springtime, I'll be ready to go and making another team, competing like I always do in the greatest FPF league, in the greatest flag football league, all of North America.
There you go. All right, Dan. All right, Dan. We're gonna get you started here with I was just recapping Division One. What is more surprising to you? That Jameson's got the win over Flagmoil Sac, or that KGP were able to down Jeans Lee and the ATH squad?
So I think I would have to go with KGP, and there's a couple of reasons here. First off, I know that Flagmoil didn't have Nadeau Pugh's throwing, which I don't understand why. Maybe there was something that occurred, but he was playing defense. I saw on the stat sheet. So I wasn't at the game, but I did see that he was not throwing. So there might have been something there, but I'll give the credit to the Jamesons as well. However, KGP, they're an organized unit, and I was at that game. Unfortunately, Jensley, he gets into it sometimes, but that's the fire in him. You got to love it. He got kicked off for 10 plays. It sucks. Yeah, so he ended up knocking himself out as a quarterback. They brought in AB. AB did his thing. They have athletes everywhere, this squad. Honestly, they're a very talented unit, but it's hard to spread the ball out. Let's be honest. There's a lot of mouths to feed over there, and it could be tough at times, And KGP, led by Quasi, Phil Cudler, they're a team that, they're persistent with what they do. They're consistent. They make sure that they rally throughout every adversity that they face. They drive down the field. They're methodical. They made sure that they converted on everything that they needed to convert to. And they made very good use of the turnovers that occurred throughout the game for the ATH squad. So I was very impressed with the KGP win. I was at that game. I saw the ending the way it occurred. It was very shocking to me, to be honest with you. I didn't think they would pull it off, but kudos to them.
Yeah, so it sounds like Jeans Lee prime time, Alex. He's still on vacation mode, and maybe he's just landing back, and he's already he's maybe he should go back on vacation, take things a little calmer here. As we move along, I want to talk about Dan here about Maroons. They're obviously coming back with Chad Byers at the helm. He made his FPF return in the spring season, and he had a decent turnout in terms of connecting with his receivers and whatnot. So first of all, did you get a chance to see Chad Byers back in action? If you did, what are your thoughts? And then we'll talk about Maroons and their schedule, whether they're going to have 6.5 wins over under.
So I did get a chance to get a glimpse of him last season. He reminds me of a young Russell Wilson, I'll be honest with you. He scrambles around in that pocket. He makes plays for his receivers. He's very versatile out there on the field. He's one of those guys that he's a competitor. And through talking to many people in the league of FPF, he's clearly been around the block in terms of making sure that he gets himself known around the league with various wins, making sure that he makes that tight throw that it needs to be made. The only thing is, though, I seen the roster. I don't really think they have all the tools needed to get that 6.5 wins, Ziggy. I went over their schedule. I saw who they're going to be going up against. I don't think I can give them the nod on that, though. And we could go over the schedule if you'd like. I would.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do that exercise, because I'll be fascinated to hear where you think the wins and losses come in their schedule. So already one win over Party Crashers. You then have them facing against the Jamesons. How do you think they fare there?
I think Jameson's take that one. I like Jeff Rosenblatt this year. I like the team that he constructed. And here's the thing. I was thinking, what are we calling them this year? The silent Jamesons or ticklers Jameson? What are we doing over here? Because I saw them teaming up with the silent ticklers over there. I like what they're doing. I see you, Jeff. I see you recruiting over there. It's
There
very
you
good
go.
stuff.
He added the purple. You know, he just
Yeah,
added
yeah,
more
yeah.
purple guys to his team.
Good
All
stuff.
right,
I like
so
Jameson's in that matchup.
so 1-1 after 3 weeks. Then they face ATH squad.
I think Gentsley bounces back. I'll be honest with you. I think he gets his guys under control and he orchestrates a team that's going to go a very long way. Because keep in mind, these are all dudes that have played together all throughout their entire lives, and they held runs in like the middle of summer in Laval. I went to a couple. It's very well organized. Gentsley's behind all of that. He's going to get his guys together. He's going to do the right things. He's going to make plays for them. I think they get the win there.
Okay, so you have Maroons going a full month without a victory because of the way their schedule lines up. So they then play, I believe it would be the week after the Super Bowl, or maybe the Super Bowl Saturday. They play FFN.
That's where it gets tricky. I think Maroons could pull off that win. Why? Because I do feel like they have more of a veteran presence along. Jared is coming into himself on his own. He's got the team that could compete because he has some firepower there. I'll be honest with you, but I just need to see the wins. I need to see the wins. I see that they started off 0-2 right now. I don't like what I'm seeing, Jared. Keep up those completions. Get those legs moving in that pocket. Do what you got to do. But I don't know if I can buy into them yet. You got to prove it to me, Jared.
All right, so you have Maroons 2-2 after 4 games. They then play the All-Stars.
Give me Wyatt. Come on, what are we
There
doing?
you go. No, yeah. What are we talking about?
Did you see that
all right.
roster? Can we talk about that roster for a second? Bonkers.
Go for it.
Bonkers. No, it's incredible. You got talent all across the board. You got one of the fastest dudes in the league. That's Chris Millard, who barely gets any targets on that team. I'm talking to him sometimes. He's like, don't worry, as long as we're winning. He does his thing, and he's that's the vibe that they have. As long as they're winning, they're fine, and they're gonna keep winning because they have Kevin Wyatt. So I give me the All-Stars there.
Then the Maroons face Flagmoilsac, another hard-hitting team.
So I don't know if there was an injury that occurred with Nado Pius. That's something that we're gonna have to keep an eye on over here. I don't know if there's
now that game would be March 9th, all the way in week 10. So even if there is an injury, we're sitting right now January 18th when this podcast comes out, January 19th. So there's going to be a 2-month, maybe resting period if there is an injury. So what do you think there?
So here's my perspective on that. A, I don't know the significance of any injury, if there is any, but B, more importantly, Nado Pius is very well connected in the FPF world and in the football world in general. So I'm sure he's around tons of talent, and I wouldn't be surprised if they bring along a very talented quarterback along the way. So give me Flagmoid. I like what they got going on over there. I like to see them back in the league, honestly.
All right, so you got Maroons sitting at 2-4, going down the grind of their schedule. So in week 11, Maroons played KGP.
This is where it gets tricky. What kind of KGP team are we going to get over here? You never know every week. You never know with these guys. Give me KGP. Give me KGP.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were going to go Maroons there. Okay, so
give me KGP.
So Maroons would be sitting with 2 wins as of March 16th. They would then be facing off against Stephen Harprasad and Blessed on March 23rd. Are they getting their 3rd win?
No. I like Blessed. I like Harp. I like what he's doing up there. A lot of people say it's unorthodox. Hey, it works. It works, guys. That's all that matters. If it works, it works. You shouldn't be complaining. And he's proven it season after season. Over 60% completion percentage. Over 40 yards. Over 40 touchdowns almost every season. The guy is there, man. And I like the roster that they assemble each and every year. Give me Blessed in that case.
Yeah, he's definitely he's up there. Steve is one of the top 5 quarterbacks. He's a Hall of Famer. I definitely agree with you there. You have Maroons sitting at 2-6 with 2 more games remaining. Those last 2 games very difficult. You start with Royam Lumina.
So I think that they're my dark horse of this entire Division 1 winter season. I would definitely go with Royal Luminaire on this matchup and a long way through, but we'll get further into that. Give me Royal Luminaire on that one. I like Jesse Bree, and you got AJ Gomez on the team. He's probably one of the best players in FPF at this moment.
There you go.
You can't go wrong.
There you go. A little shout out to your boy. So look, they're sitting on 2 wins according to the Dan Lazara schedule. You're not taking them over Braves then, are you?
You see, this is where it gets tricky. No, of course I wouldn't. Of course I wouldn't. It's the Braves we're talking about over here. We got Jonathan Meyer. Even though this team has been dealt with injuries over the last 2 years of calendar years, you got no more Pilons on the team. Gary P barely shows up. The guy only wants to come to the playoffs if he's there. He's like, you know what? Just throw me the ball back shoulder, Joe, like we always do. It's fine, But they continue to show up with studs. They got speed. They got talent. And when you got Meyer, Mike, JD, Will, you have a chance, and I like their chances. So give me Braves in that matchup.
Okay, so again, you heard it here. Dan Lazara going with a 2-8 record for the Maroons, and to wrap up the Maroons, is that going to be enough for them to make the playoffs?
That all depends on where everything else plays out. There's a couple of other teams that we don't know. We didn't go over any of their schedules. Respectfully,
Right.
Don't worry about that. However, I don't really know if that's going to be enough to make the playoffs. I know that there's only, from what I've seen, only one team that's not going to be making the playoffs. Yeah. I'm not going to go ahead and make my prediction of who's not going to make the playoffs, but I don't know if 2 wins is going to be enough. I'll be honest with you, Iggy.
Well, if they only have 2 wins, the Maroons do, and one of those is against FFN, and according to the Dan Lazara roster look, and FFN already sitting at 0-2, maybe they do secure themselves a playoff spot with a victory over FFN. But you're right, there's a lot of games to be played. Division 1's going to be fascinating, as it is always, and go for it. Wrap it up, though.
I definitely want to be at that game. I just wanted to shout that out. That's going to be a great game, and that's going to be determining whether or not who's going to make the playoffs. More importantly, watch out for that FFN team. Get Jared a couple of good, solid plays into there. Get his offense down packed where it's not guys rotating in and out of the offense. Yeah. Remember the name, Justin Julian. He's back. And this guy's a stud. I play with him in Waste Dude. This guy's a stud. They have a couple of studs in that team. If they get the ball rolling on that team, they could be dangerous as well. Just putting that out there.
All right. Speaking of dangerous teams, Dan, this division is always All-Stars, Braves, All-Stars. Give me the one team that's going to give their shot at Braves and All-Stars, give their run for their money in Division 1.
So over the years, as you've been involved with the league, you could tell that there's always been that one team that you're looking at the roster, you're saying, I don't really see it. But then they go up against big name teams and they pull off that upset. And it's not just one time. It's a couple of times. And they do it on a consistent basis. And that team is led by Jesse Dupree and Royal Luminaire. And now you got AJ, you got Gropini on the team, you got some studs on that team now. It's not just Jesse going out with his boys that he brought from Division 3 and saying, hey, let's go there. And he's still pulling off upset with those guys. Now you got some studs with him. I think that that game versus Blessed, from what I heard, Blessed got away with one. Listen, Blessed, I'm giving you respect. You got the win. Don't come at me. However, I think that they're a dangerous team. They've proven that they could shut down the All-Stars. They beat the All-Stars in the Division 2 finals. I don't know if you recall that, with AJ getting a pick 6 towards the end of the game on Kevin Wyatt. And I've seen plenty of times Jesse Dupree infiltrating that Braves offense of theirs because he's played on that team before. And he knows exactly the system that they run. So he knows how to come onto that drag. He knows when that deep post is coming. He sees a lot of things. Jesse sees the game differently, guys. So that's my dark horse for the league. I give you Royal Luminaire.
Yeah, I really like that pick, and like you were alluding to, Jesse Dupree as a defender, very underrated defender. I have seen countless times. He knows when to shoot the gaps, and he's like you said, he's in the brains of the opposing quarterbacks. Instincts. Yeah, he's definitely one to watch out for. I really like that pick there, Dan. Dan, like I was doing with our other guests, we don't do games of the week at the end of the show. We're going to be doing games of the week with our contributors. So you get your shot at the Week 3 division games of the week. So here we go. You got Maroons against Jamesons. We kind of already did this, but who you got?
Give me the Jameson. Give me Jeff Rosenblatt, baby. Let's go.
All-Stars going up against Party Crushers.
Fred Dupree, this guy, he's either going to come out slinging like he doesn't give an F, and he's going to throw bombs in your face, and they're going to come down with it. Emil is one of the nastiest receivers in this league as well. But you got to give the All-Stars.
Okay. I thought you were hyping all this up for an upset here. All right, you're going All-Stars, and then the final game. short week here in Division 1. You got Flagmoil Sac against Braves. That should be a great one.
Yeah, it should be a great one if Alex Nadeau-Fuse plays. We don't know the situation on that. I'll message them. I'll try and figure it out. However, I think the Braves did come back from a long tournament, and I spoke with Balan. They had a great tournament, but they got plagued with a couple of injuries. I don't know how they'll bounce back with that, but you got to give me the Braves still. I still feel like their system that they run, they're able to suffocate you and make sure that they force you into that one mistake needed to win the game. Give me the Braves in that matchup.
All right, Dan, thank you very much for joining the show. I really appreciated the insight, the mind of the quarterback that is Dan Lazara. Thanks again for joining, Dan.
Thank you so much for having me, Iggy. I look forward to being on the show every week, talking FPF. Let's do this. We got a big winter season ahead, and I am so excited to watch some football, baby. Let's go.
There you go. I love the passion, the energy you bring. Everyone, Dan Lazara.
Kudos, guys.
All right, good night. All right, we had Dan Lazara join us there for Division 1, the best of the best in FPF. Love to hear his thoughts. We went through the Maroons roster. We have his dark horse in Royaume Lumina going at it with All Stars and Braves. So definitely going to be an amazing road in Division 1. But we leave Division 1 behind and we go over to our final division for the night. That is going to be 35 plus. Again, our 35 plus, there was no contributor for tonight. So once again, you're going to have a monologue, just me, Iggy Magnets, going at it, really going a little bit all over the place with my thoughts on the 35 plus. So we'll start with the 35 plus KTFL division. That division got underway this week with week 1, no games were played. And in week 2 in Saint Laurent, we had JMJ, Brody Windsor, Flag Plus, and On Rock all getting their season started. And really, one team showed a lot of rust, and one team was firing on all cylinders in both of those games. So first, you had JMJ with Ryan Kastner putting up 7 touchdowns in their first victory over, I believe that was Flag Plus. And you had Brody Windsor led by Sean Avram. These are 2 elite quarterbacks in both Kastner and Avram. So you had Avram taking and scoring 50 points on Rock. So really, he rocked them all the way to the victory. So like I was saying, when you have 2 elite quarterbacks like Kastner and Avram, and not only elite, but elite and coming off seasons in the Fall Cup and in the spring seasons. So they got their foot back into the FPF world. Even Ryan Kastner played in last year's 35 plus, where he actually kind of struggled a little bit at the beginning. So he's gotten back into the game, played with #NR in Division A in the Fall Cup. Sean Avram with his backyard bullies in I believe it was Division C in the spring season. So both of them got their taste and their foot back in and taste of success. Having at least in Sean Avram's case, a deep playoff run with the backyard bullies. So when you have 2 elite quarterbacks like this leading their squad, the offense can definitely put up points like we saw in week 1. 42 points for JMJ, 50 points by Sean Avram and Brody Windsor. That's really, really difficult to keep up with for defenses, especially to keep up with, as the turnovers don't come as easy. I believe there was only 2, maybe 3 turnovers, all coming from the JMJ side in both games combined, I'm talking about. So not a lot of turnovers from these defenses, these aging defenses, let's call it what it is. But the quarterback position is one where age, you kind of get better over time. Yes, the aches and pains, I'm feeling them right now. The back's hurting, the shoulders hurting. But quarterback's that interesting position where you can survive longer, and the legs don't necessarily have to keep up with the mind and the arm. So definitely JMJ and Brody Windsor, big wins to start the season. I think those two teams are going to go a long way, just simply because the offense can put up points. And then I was thinking, who of those two teams can go undefeated longer, whether it was JMJ or Brody Windsor. So if you quickly take a look at the JMJ schedule, they play on Rock. I'm going to have to go with a victory there. And then you have JMJ playing Brody Windsor right away. So that's probably going to be where the first loss comes from. And, looking at both rosters, I got to go with Brody Windsor. Brody Windsor to have a longer undefeated streak. I just see more athleticism, more speed, a little on the closer to the 35 side than the 40, 45, and 50 side of the ball. So I like the team composition of Brody Windsor. So I'm going to go with Brody Windsor to go undefeated longer. If we move over now to the 35 plus Legends division, in there, I was looking at the games in week 2, and I was kind of surprised by something. Something definitely caught my eye. It was that that everything hurts after taking a pretty deep gutted loss in week 1 to the Bearskins. They came back with full force and took it back to the Bearskins, really taking it to them. I believe the scores will pull it up here. Yeah, 46-6. That's it's not something you definitely wouldn't have expected that going in. Everything kind of just yells surprise to me. How exactly did Frank Teoli Colichola put up 46 after barely putting up 1 or 2 touchdowns in week 1? Bearskins, very good team. You got Terry Tam, Ryan Nenson, GM Caletheris, Kevin Littman, Vince Nardone and all. Terry Tam more an offensive guy, but on defense, how are you letting up 46 points? I was told by GM Caletheris that for most, maybe some of the game, they were only 5 players. So that explains some of it. But still, a 40-point margin of victory. And look, I like the receiving core of Everything Hurts, right? It's the Vince Pizzanos, the Mario Rinaldis, the John Giamarellas. It's a known core of I want to say pension plan. That's it. They go back, throwing in Division 6 and Division 5 under the moniker of pension plan. So they definitely have a ton of flag experience that comes around them. And then you have some of the guys that are on the edge of just turning 35. So you have the Josh Curry's, young, fast guy with good hands. You have Anthony Seja, who's still, in his prime, I would say, for flag football. His big body, his good hands, he knows the concepts of finding the open holes in zones and creating natural pick plays. So I do like the roster composition of Everything Hurts, but definitely a surprise for me was a 40-point drubbing of Everything Hurts over Bearskins. And then the last thing that caught my eye was Teen Ethnic Senior. Definitely going to be fun to see Benoit Lawler throwing in this division after taking, I want to say, the fall season off because he was in the spring season in Division C. So, you have a Division C level quarterback coming to throw in 35 plus. I would have to say, though, by looking at the box score, that the first game was really, really difficult, especially the first 3 drives of the game. You had a 4 and out, another 4 and out, and then an interception on the 3rd drive of the game. That was definitely, not the way you want to start your season. But, you got to find the positives in there. They were facing a tough pacemaker squad. Jason Rossi has probably already played like 5 or 6 games at quarterback, so he is definitely in the full swing of things. To only lose 32-25 after your first 3 offensive possessions go turnover on downs, and interception, to only lose by 1 possession shows me that, that they picked up and still scoring 25 points, that they were able to gain chemistry. I believe the 4th drive they scored in just 2 plays. So it was, the chemistry was working. I'm just wondering if the next few games, are they going to have that slow start to their games? Because if they do, they're already putting themselves behind at least 18 points, right? Because my philosophy in Flag is that offenses are going to score. It's how many times are you going to get stopped? So for Benoit Lawler to not score on his first 3 possessions, to me, is leaving 18 points off on the board. So, if you do that in your next game and week 3 and week 4 and week 5, and you're consistently leaving points off the board early in games, especially, I'm surprised he put up 25 in their last game against Pacemakers, because that starts getting in your head. Oh, we're not moving the ball. It's difficult to drive on this team. So I'm not sure where to lean. Are they going to have difficult starts again, or are they going to pick up from where they last left off? Scoring 25, maybe not consecutive points, but at least on their own drives, scoring 4 drives out of 4 after their first 3 drives led to 0 points. So that's definitely something that I'm gonna be looking for, is how Team Ethnic Senior comes out to play. So that pretty much wraps up the show here, as we went through the divisions again that Mo didn't cover. I want to thank Jerome Hovington for covering Division 4 with me. I want to thank Lori Willette for going over Co-Ed 1 and Co-Ed 2. I kind of have to thank myself, I guess, for going over Co-Ed 3 and 35 plus. And then once again, thanks to Dan Lazara for joining us with his hot takes in Division 1. So without further ado, because I don't do a sign off like Mo does, I just want to thank all our contributors once again, and for joining us on the show. And that's it. We're going to see you on the fields in week 3, Saturday. We'll see you there.